Well, the CPI numbers are in again. It is this time of the year. It's the last one for 2022, and there is not very many shining stars in here. We're going to be talking about it and what you can do and how to position yourself in this year, 2023. Let's make it a great one. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. My name is David Ruff, and I'm in Toronto, Canada. We talk about all things economics, and we always pay attention to what is happening in the United States because they are the world superpower right now, and they are the reserve currency. So what happens there affects everybody, and that's me and you, regardless of where we are. So let's jump into some of the articles of the day, and I'm going to point out some of the things that I noticed that kind of jumped out at me. This article about inflation is sliding, and it is kind of a mixed bag what is happening today. The market is kind of confused about which way to go, but this is one thing that I highlighted right here. This is the article investors.com. They keep talking about stubborn services inflation. Now, we know that Jerome Powell has given very, very direct comments about this in the past. Here is the funny thing. He's just stopping shy of saying that it's your patriotic duty to not raise people's wages. Remember, if you raise their wage, your employee's wage, I'm saying, if you raise their wages, they'll have more money in their pocket and they're going to spend on things. And that is what's leading to inflation. Too much money chasing too few goods and services. So he wants everyone's quality of life to go down. Now, he will not be as blunt as that. He just says that there's going to be pain and so on and so forth. But as we talked about this on this channel before, back in the 80s, with Paul Volcker, who was a lot more direct, he says the quality of life of Americans has to go down for the vast majority of them. And we're seeing this as well. And so when we're talking about services inflation, remember, just think of somebody who could be cutting your hair or a massage or something. And they're like, I can't pay rent anymore. It's too expensive. I have to raise my prices. That is the services inflation because inflation is hurting them. So they want nobody to pay any more. They want it to stop. Remember, the Fed cannot print houses, but they can print dollars, right? And they can make it so expensive for everything by raising the interest rates on everything. All right, let's jump straight into the article. This comes up many, many times in most of the things, but this paragraph, it says Fed's Powell shifts focus from CPI to wages. He is noticing CPI is trending down, as you're seeing in the news today, but we are seeing wages go up. He says the last sentence here, inflation in non-energy services, excluding housing, is likely to stay elevated as long as wage growth remains hot. Again, coming back to the wage growth issue all the time by saying that it's companies buckling under the pressure and raising the wages of their employees. It's funny how there's always a scapegoat, whatever century that we're in. All right, now let's look at the U.S. Bureau of Labor statistics. Just a couple of ones that I found interesting. Did you notice here that the consumer price index for all urban consumers declined by 0.1% in December? Declined by 0.1%. Which means what? Do we have deflation? We do. And there's been a lot of economists that keep talking about this deflation thing all the time. So just to get it out of the way, because economists like to use a lot of big words whenever they're describing anything. So if we look at what that definition is, remember that deflation means prices are falling and the inflation rate is in the negative. Disinflation occurs more commonly than deflation. Let's give some examples. Disinflation could be that inflation was at 8% one year and is slowing down and now it's only going up 7%. Okay. So a loaf of bread will be $2 and instead of going to $2.50 like it did last year and going up, now it's only going to go up 10 cents a loaf. It's still getting more expensive, but it's getting less expensive. Or is it that the loaf of bread is becoming cheaper than it was this year? So the difference between disinflation and deflation. Try not to get confused between those two because Lord knows I always do. All right. These are some of the ones that I saw unadjusted 12-month ending December 2022. So anything over a double digit, you would have to flag to yourself. And you guys see this. Food at home up 10.4%. Ouch. Ouch. Look at this, fuel oil, 41% year over year. And can you believe that we're seeing this? Energy services, electricity up 15%, utilities up 14%. It's unbelievable the prices that are going up. This one says that 7.7% is meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. It's 7.7. So it blends these numbers together. Notice here, 15.3% for dairy and related products. We can get into a lot more specifics. I did pull up a more precise, this is a 37-page document, which you can also also get on the Bureau of Labor Statistics? Did you notice here eggs are up 59.9%? 59.9, 60% price. Now, last summer, I told my mom, I said, Mom, there is a lot of these culls that are happening where they're killing off a bunch of chickens because of the danger of them passing over these diseases that they're getting. And we can expect to see prices of eggs hit $1. Now, just yesterday, my mother called me and said that our friends that are down in Arizona are paying $8 for a dozen eggs. In Canadian, that's almost $12 a dozen, which is unbelievable. Can you believe that we're getting to a time where it's $1 an egg? It might be a good time for you, if you have room, to put a couple chickens in your backyard. Sidebar, did you know over in the Netherlands and Belgium, the city said, if you guys want chickens, we'll give you 3 chickens. Like 4,000 people or something like that took the chickens. They went and gave the chickens out. And guess what? Their food waste for the town went down by half. Unbelievable. Everyone gave it to all the chickens and got eggs from it. Maybe it's a good idea for us to do. All right, let's continue on here, you guys. There are some crazy numbers, but the eggs really jumps out at me. But as you can see, all of these food items from meats and lunch meats and poultry are all in the double digits. Things are really expensive. It doesn't matter where you go. Did you notice that sweet rolls, coffee, biscuits, white bread, everything, 23%, 13%, 15, 16, 17, everything year over year. The price of food has gone bananas. And remember, we talked about this last year because we were discussing the fact that the grain is made 25% over in Ukraine and Russia. So this war is really mucking things up for the whole planet because we pay a planetary price for wheat, right? If it all gets cut down, what are we going to do for countries like Egypt that import all of their grain? They can't grow it in the desert. So they have to import it all. If they don't have any, they have to find it somewhere else. And this is leading to massive price hikes. But it's not just the war that's happening. Remember, when they say the Putin price hike, it's not just Putin. It's also the other things, right? Like it could be lack of rain, and it could be money printing, or any of the other fun things that are going on all at the same time. But as you go through this chart, which is 37 pages, you notice many times that there's double digits in things. Now, the reason why we didn't have massive inflation is because oil prices came down. I'm continuing on here, and you can see dairy and related products, 21%. Oh my goodness. But as we just go down these pages, you can see everything is in the double digits. It's really high. And this is what is happening to humans. Now, for us who are having trouble paying for our bills, what are we supposed to do? Of course, we're going to go to the boss and ask for a wage increase, right? And this is what Powell is worried about. People are going to ask for a wage increase, and then we're going to be right back with inflation. There is only 2 ways to pay off the debt that we're in. Remember, we can either pay with hard money, raise taxes by 20%, or they can just have 20% more inflation by printing that money. Either way, it comes back and hurts the consumer. Remember, the government doesn't create anything. All they do is take money from one party and give it to the next, right? And so we have to figure out ways to make a lot more money. Remember, I always say we have to outrun inflation, but try to remember this. These descriptions are always going to be coming up here. Deflation means that the prices are falling. Disinflation occurs more commonly than deflation. Deflation means prices are falling and the inflation rate is on the negative. What they talk about these days is that deflation is a massive threat to the economy where prices are going to get lower. But remember, we can never be as simple as saying everything is going up in money. Yes, money printing causes all of this. But remember, there's other factors that can happen. Number one, yes, we are talking about grain, Putin and the war in Ukraine going and so on and so forth. But what happens if in the United States they have lack of rain? What happens if there's a plague of locusts or something? Like there can be more than one factor happening that rises the price of grain, not just the war, for example. Or let's say in the same basket of goods that you have, maybe we have a bumper crop this year in something, you name it. Maybe it's a lot of grain this year, so prices on grain could go down. But maybe we have no dairy because all the cows died, and then the price of that will go up. So CPI is meant to be a basket of things getting together. Now we're seeing food prices go up and the prices of TVs going down, right? So they just add all the pluses and minuses up and come up with a general number. But what we can really see is the prices of things that you want are going down. The prices of things that you need are going up. So food, shelter, stuff like that is going to be more and more expensive. Energy crunches happening everywhere, right? We're seeing the cost of oils going crazy, but we're going to be trying to figure it out. I think we're going to end up going back to a lot of nuclear plants. I don't know. What do you think about that? Anyway, we'll save that for another video, you guys. The CPI came out. We have to prepare and learn how to outrun this inflation. There is no one coming to save us. In fact, the likelihood is, if history is any guide, they're going to keep printing money for as many trees as left in the country, as Mr. Rogers always says. The likelihood is they have to raise taxes by a lot, or they have to raise the printing by a lot, one or the other. And for the past 2,000 years, we always see them, they end up printing a lot of money. So we're going to have to figure out how to get ways through that. And we're have a course on how to build wealth through recessions. I also just did a video on this book right here, Only the Paranoid Survive. This is how to exploit crisis points. Now, this is every company and career, but I would argue it is also for your own personal development and for your family's personal development. He always says you have to make advancement between the waves. So between crashes, or you're having a tough time with your marriage, or you're having a tough time with your business, or you're having a tough time with a kid, we always have to be continuing to strive to be better. Now, this inflation is going to be sticking around with us for a long, long time. I'm with you. Remember, the next 2 years is going to dictate the next 20 years of your life, and I'm going to help you every step of the way. I hope you have a great day. Please remember to like and subscribe, and if you know one person that this could help, please consider sending it to their way. Leave a comment. I read all of them. I really appreciate them, and it also directs some of the content that we create. So thank you so much. I wish you the very best, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you like that video, you might like this one, and maybe something like that.